Well, welcome everyone. This is Charlie McDermott. I'm here with Barbara. We are going to get going here. Last time I looked, it's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock our time anyway. Welcome everyone. We are here for a very, very important session. I think this is, we've given some doozies in the past, but this is a very, very serious subject, and one that we have, it's been a lot of... Is anger the right word?
Sometimes it's outrage. I think.
Outrage. From what we see in the internet, what we hear from folks, certainly clients who come on board, and
well, we see lovely people struggling.
Yeah.
Or worse, succumbing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misleading nutritional directive out there, and it looks so right.
Yeah, on the surface,
Yes.
You probably wouldn't even question it.
Absolutely wouldn't.
So, speaking of questions, as we get into it here, we will be here, as you know, we are live. So we are here to answer your questions. Know that we will answer questions at the end of the training. All right, just to be fair with everyone who has limited time. The content of this training is a good, dense hour. And then we will get to the questions afterwards. You can leave your questions in the chat box or the Q&A box, okay? And as I said, just hang in there. We will get to all questions before we wrap up. So let's get it rolling here. I want to get a feel for who we're working with tonight. So raise your hand if this best describes you, okay? You're a cancer survivor. Okay, yep. See... good number of hands already going up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Thanks for sharing.
Yes.
How about if you're currently in a battle with cancer? All right, good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm guessing the rest of you are here for protection. You probably have some connection, probably a close connection. Yep. I see Jeff. We spoke with Jeff earlier. Natalia. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Done.
We don't have to look very far, right, to see the connections in whether it's our families or friends or coworkers and on and on and on. So, okay. Let me just bop the hands down here so we can keep everyone in check.
And that's where we fall. We fall into this category.
Yeah, as we'll share.
Yeah.
So, many of you, as we know from doing other trainings, doing a lot of things right. You might even say I'm doing everything right, the old by the book, right? Following the healthy rules. And I have a picture of a scale on this training, and our clients are probably going, what is he doing? A scale, yeah. And if I could reach in there and throw it out the window, I would, trust me. But this is the gauge for most folks. And unfortunately, that gauge is not only inaccurate, but it provides a lot of stress, a lot of confusion, a lot of uncertainty. They just don't know what to do, following all the healthy rules. And not only is it causing the scale to go the other way, but these other diseases are creeping in. And shifters know why. We're going to share that tonight. And there's a lot of connections. You're going to be able to connect the dots with a lot of these conditions. And that's both good news and not so good news if you didn't make it tonight, but since you're here, you're gonna be able to put it all together. So, curious, how important would it be for you to know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, exactly what you can do to protect yourself from cancer? Obviously, right? That's why you're here. But as we begin to get into the connecting the dots, the good news, heart disease is a part of this. Dodging the Alzheimer's bullet. Alzheimer's can be prevented. More and more research has come out, eliminating certainly cravings and weight gain, and reducing and possibly not needing medications, right? So a little background here, full disclosure, even though we've been accused of this, of being doctors, we certainly are not. Thank goodness, so we can, and I say that in jest, certainly, we'd be lost without our medical community, but they're handicapped. Let's face it. They have a full schedule with all the insurance that they need to file and administrative, I dotting and T crossing. It doesn't leave a whole lot of time for doctoring, and they're not educated in preventing. They're not educated in healing. They're educated for the most part. Again, I'm lumping everyone into prescribing, right?
And no time for self-experimentation either.
No. And my goodness, how could they possibly sit down like we're going to do tonight and in an hour explain the ins and outs of cancer and how to defend yourself against it, how to fight it without, all these other concoctions that are out there in pills, powders, and potions. We've never had to deal with cancer, thank goodness. Certainly, again, we don't have to look very far like all of you where it has hit us, and most recently today.
Yeah.
Again, it's part of the anger, or what word did you
Outrage.
use? Outrage of, my goodness, this just doesn't have to be. So our background, we were 23 years in what I call the torture chamber business. You might know it as health clubs or gyms. There's pictures of our final club, the one that we sold. We had a chain of health clubs in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. And we had a wonderful life, as they say, for 23 years and thought we, had the answer. The fitness was the way. And my goodness, our last club was a fitness country club.
Mega, yes.
I mean, we had restaurants, we had 5 swimming pools, indoor and outdoor, basketball, spa,
rehabilitation.
We had an army of personal trainers. We had dietitians and nurses working for us. We even had a physician. So, we had it going on. And fortunately, as you'll see in a moment.
So we had every expert.
Yeah.
We had every kind of expert at our disposal.
Yeah.
Boom.
And we thought fitness was the answer.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I mean, you're teaching classes, and I'm seeing members come and go for over 2 decades, and we're kind of scratching our heads at times, going, something's just not. This isn't the full deal here.
Everyone comes in, but they don't leave healthier or necessarily.
Or
we're good at holding things, but not necessarily unraveling things.
Yeah,
right?
and it was, oh my goodness,
Health
a lot
clubs.
of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. And that was me, certainly. And this, those of you who've been to our other trainers, I bring up Bob Harper because it's a perfect example of an individual from the outside looks, completely healthy. I call him the man of steel, right? And this was also me. I was on my fit journey to diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and yes, cancer. We look at folks from the outside and we can't see, obviously, what's going on inside. And I mean, you've heard stories of individuals that, for whatever reason, bump their head and they have to go get an x-ray. And oh my goodness, they find this cancer, or they find there's a blockage in an artery that they wouldn't have found if not for that accident. And it saves that person's life, right? Bob Harper was, if you're not familiar with him, celebrity fitness trainer, what was it, Biggest Loser show, and the fitness world was in shock when he had what was called a widowmaker heart attack.
Especially at 51.
Yeah.
That's young for a fit man.
Yep. But we now, and our shifters on this session, they know what the deal was with Bob, and many others who, who was the actor who just passed away of a stroke from 9 Beverly. What's the zip code? 90120 or something. But anyway, it's unfortunately it's not unusual for individuals to die young of what in the past had been old folks in air quotes diseases. So that was my journey, and then I got sidetracked because our daughter was diagnosed as type 1. And age 16, it was a day everything changed. Everything we thought we knew about nutrition, fitness, health, and feeling good was wrong. And for 7 years, Barb tried to figure out a way to help her, our daughter. The picture you're looking at is Erin as the renewed Erin, 40
Restored
pounds
Erin.
less.
Yeah.
The day she started her shift, with Barb's guidance, her insulin usage was reduced by 80%. That's unheard of.
And stayed that less.
And it hasn't changed in over 6 years from the day she started. The pounds came off, and it hasn't wavered, and on and on and on. So many other health benefits.
Blood sugar stable.
Yep.
As best a type 1 can. Yep.
So it's Erin is the reason we are here, and she's the reason why we're able to help so many individuals out of health chaos, whether it be diabetes or weight gain or cravings, and certainly, obviously, in this case, cancer this evening. So what we're going to talk about today is how to take advantage of cancer's weak link. There is a weak link when it comes to cancer. It's not really put out there.
It's not spoken about. No, it's not.
You can start cancer, and at the same time, lose body fat, reverse insulin resistance. So if you're, I don't know if you're going to get into the story of a good friend of ours who struggled with diabetes for years and succumbed to cancer. But it's all connected for those of you who joining us late here. The last part, feeling better than you have in decades. So whether you're battling cancer or cancer survivor, or you just want that certainty of knowing, I don't want to have to deal with cancer, this is the right place. How nutrition factors into fighting cancer and staying cancer-free. Oh my goodness, there is so much. I'm so glad you're getting into this tonight because, oh boy. How to protect yourself from cancer-supporting healthy eating. This will be an eye-opener for you all. I promise you that. Many of us are eating healthy and have no idea that it's that healthy eating. Certainly better than having a dinner of Twinkies, but many folks are eating healthy thinking that they are protecting themselves, and oh my goodness, the jaw will drop. And then lastly, we're going to share our new Cancer Smarts 30-day program. We have a very, very special announcement, so if you want to stay until the end to hear that, you are more than welcome. But I'm going to turn the mic over to Barb and let her take you through the whole cancer training here.
And the interesting thing is, when you have a child diagnosed with a disease where you're required to inject a certain compound, insulin, right? And then you find out that it's correlated pretty intimately with something like cancer. You start digging for the answers. So just like I dug for the answers of how the HE double hockey sticks do we deal with this type 1 diabetes, I also had to figure out, okay, how do I best defend her against this probability of developing cancer? Because when you have either type 2 or type 1 diabetes, you are more prone to heart disease. You're more prone to cancer. You're more prone to fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's. So, you have to know the enemy. That's how I look at it. Okay. So whenever we are up against an opponent, say we're going into a ring, we better know our opponent. And more importantly than anything else, I want to know my opponent's strengths, but I want to know their weaknesses because, I'm not that strong. I need to be able to tackle whatever that weakness is and exploit the heck out of it, right? It's all about strategy and exploitation of the weakness. So the interesting thing that you find out when you start looking at your opponent's weakness, you start to also look at your internal strength. Our human body is so powerfully created, and our body, not we can't take ownership for how we were created. We have an incredible defense. The best offense is a good defense. We know that from soccer, right? Well, our first line of defense against the development of cancer inside of us is something called autophagy. Autophagy. It's like an auto self-consumption. That's what that means. Auto self-consumption. What? Well, autophagy is our built-in natural detoxification. We try to take credit for everything. You just go on the internet and everyone's telling us about their cleanse, their renewal, their detox. It's like, okay, let's give credit where credit's due. Our maker, our creator, our natural universe, our body is its own natural cleaner, cell renewal, okay? Autophagy is when your body notices cell parts that are faulty or completely just wrong, and they're no longer serving their intended function, right? Well, our body will naturally just purge them. This is also when the human growth hormone accelerates, because if we have to get rid of a cell part, we're not going to drop body parts, but get rid of a cell part, the human growth hormone will actually help us or create new pieces, okay? I think about like astronauts who are up in those capsules and they have a sweep. They clean every day. It's the same thing our body does. This autophagy happens every day naturally, but it only happens under one condition. I know you shifters are already, I know you know the answers. We have to be in a nutrient deficit. Whoa, Barb, I don't want to be nutrient deficit. I work my tail off getting all my nutritional arsenal sound. No, I'm not talking about we're lacking a specific vitamin or a mineral or an enzyme. No, it just means I'm deficient in fuel. There's no incoming, any kind of fuel, no food. Okay? Think about if you were on a boat and you had a lot of luggage in your boat. Now, if you didn't have fuel coming in and now you had a paddle instead, we would very quickly clean house, wouldn't we? We'd get rid of all the stuff that was weighing us down, not serving us. That's what our body does. But it only happens during periods of time when we are running on fuel reserve. What does that mean? Running on fuel reserve. Running on the fuel we're carrying. Any fat on our body is a wonderful, powerful fuel, okay? And it's a daily occurrence. And when does it happen, everybody? It happens when we're sleeping at night, most naturally. Every night we can actually get beauty sleep. You can actually wake up looking better. In fact, who was just saying that? They had their best night's sleep ever since shifting. And in fact, they woke up so disoriented. They said, I never felt so clear-headed. That's autophagy happening, right?
Wow.
Very cool. Well, the interesting thing is that during this big word autophagy, self-consumption, purging, there's a smaller, tighter mechanism called apoptosis, and it's cell suicide. That's an awesome thing because it's a mechanism built into every single one of our healthy cells of our body that immediately just aborts when that cell is corrupted. So cells are supposed to work for us, not against us. When can they start working against us? Well, exogenous compounds or things we could breathe in or eat, perhaps, or come through our skin, or radiation. These are all chemical, they're not natural to our body. So apoptosis or cell suicide can get turned off by a chemical that can really mess with our genetic, natural flow. And there's not a whole lot we can do about that, is there? I mean, we can avoid radiation. We can eat organically. We can avoid, packaged foods that have ingredients we can't pronounce. We can try to breathe in fresh air and stay away from, new buildings that have a lot of plastic or things like that. The kind of common sense stuff, right? But we can make sure that the second one doesn't happen. The endogenous, when it comes from inside of us, endo is inside, exo is outside. There's that prefix. So we turn off cell suicide when we're constantly in a nutritional surplus. So even having a lunch of a salad, which is certainly a fine thing to do, but if I'm trying to reduce or use up my body fat fuel and thwart cancer at the same time, I want to have spans of time where I'm not putting any nutrients in, any fuel at all. Okay, so we can really turn off cell suicide, apoptosis, cancer cell elimination if we're constantly doing this kind of stuff. Our body's natural cell renewal and cancer cell defense gets turned off. Some people are like, I'm doing a juice cleanse. Yay. Okay. You're still taking in food. So it doesn't take very much protein, very little glucose, carbohydrate to turn autophagy off. And juice is carbohydrate. Okay. We're told to graze. Eat 6 small meals a day. Well, you're not getting in autophagy that way. Hitting our quota. I hit my nutrition. I ate 2 to 3 servings of fruit. I ate 5 to 6 servings of vegetables. I had my healthy whole grains be the bigger proportion of my meal. That's all hitting quotas, right? Turns autophagy off. And of course, we're trying to fortify with nutrition. Well, okay. So a cancer here, all of us on this earth most likely have had so many occurrences of cancer, but we don't know about it. Every cell in our body has the ability to turn cancerous from what we just talked about. But for some of us, it takes hold. And for some of us, we never find out about it. Why, would it take hold? Cancer cells. Well, when that defense is breached, meaning our apoptosis got turned off, our autophagy is just we're not doing it often enough, we're not cleaning the house often enough, because we're always eating, because we're told to always eat, right? Well, the rogue cell is going to need two things in order to take hold. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, that cell would need fuel that's quite available, right? Every cell of our body needs fuel. But it also needs a second thing. It needs to have accessibility. So not only is the fuel in the gas tank, but the hose is there, right? So let's look at what cancer cells' fuel is and how it accesses it. Well, the first thing is fuel for cancer cells, like every other cell of our body, is glucose. Glucose is cancer cells' primary fuel, okay? And you shifters know that glucose is created by our body. So that sounds like I won't curse, but crickets, right? Crick. My body makes glucose and that's cancer cell fuel? Yeah, it is. Don't worry though, the story gets better for us. Glucose is simply blood sugar. They're one and the same. And glucose blood sugar really comes from the carbohydrate we eat, but also some of the protein we eat. And this is why those people who are doing protein shakes with a lot of fruits and vegetables in the morning and they're trying to beat cancer are like, darn, I thought I was actually somehow that magic potion was going to kill cancer. It's like, well, not really. It's supporting it, right? And then the accessibility. You can have all the glucose and blood sugar in the world, but if you don't have the growth and fat storage and cancer cell support hormone insulin, which is the key that unlocks the cancer cell, it wouldn't be able to take that glucose in. So the two factors to support cancer, quite simply in every human body, are glucose and insulin. Now, sure, there are extraneous other hormones at play, absolutely. But every cancer cell comes down to this basic foundation. And then that insulin, which is a cancer cell support hormone, it's also the reason why many of us have the problem of belly fat we can't get rid of. It's because insulin levels are up. When insulin levels are up, our fat stores are locked down. But it goes a little further here for cancer cells. Cancer cells get more support because insulin triggers these other two key hormonal catalyst players. One is called IGF, insulin growth factor, and we all know in Shift Insiders that insulin is a purely anabolic hormone. It only grows things. When insulin levels are up in our body, you can be sure we are expanding and growing. The other thing expanding and growing are our arteries. That's how our arteries thicken. That's how blood pressure rises, just from that even, right? Thicker arteries means a narrower hose, right? But insulin growth factor makes sure that our body grows. Do we want cancer cells anywhere around a growth factor? I don't think so. And then the other one is called TAF, tumor angiogenesis factor. So do you see words popping out at you? I think you do, right? The word growth, I don't want no cancer cell growing. And even in the word angiogenesis, genesis means new life or new creation. Do we want a new creation of a tumor? I don't think so. In fact, the angiogenesis piece is really how cancer, if you look back in time, how did cancer even get its name? It came from the word like canker. Think of a sore that can grow. But it also comes from the crab. If you're like my husband, whose astrological sign is Cancer, he's really crab. But it's interesting how
I'm crabby.
It's almost like, I don't know if that got a bad rap, crab, so they decided to go with Cancer. But it really is technically crab. Because if you look at this crab, the center of the body is like the cancer cell itself, but then look at all these appendages that are actively reaching out of it. That's what a cancer cell kind of looks like, Not exactly, obviously. We have biochemists and all that in the room, but Yeah, there's kind of a correlation. So let's look at this tumor angiogenesis factor and the insulin growth factor from an analogy of my banyan tree that's out front of my house. Okay, insulin is that hormone that's the foundation of growth and fueling for all cells in our body. Okay, and those two green arrows going up, because of insulin, on my left-hand side of the screen, insulin growth factor is tuned up. So you know that your cancer cell is in grow mode. And on the right-hand side, TAF, tumor angiogenesis factor, that is the scary alien portion of our program, I think, when a rogue cell starts growing an incredible blood supply network. To do what? Suck up that glucose. You see, cancer cells rely heavily on a lot of glucose. Insulin is the key to cancer getting the glucose. In fact, it's so important that insulin opens up cancer cells to let glucose in that cancer cells have an abundant number of key openings, insulin receptors. That's why I have all my little key openings at the bottom there. Usually a key opens one door. It's responding to one unlocking. But a cancer cell has a whole bunch of unlockings. Okay? And the interesting thing, too, is that this is exactly cancer's weakness. That scientific understanding of our opponent. Its strength is that it is primed to use glucose and has other support hormones in place for its blood supply network and its ultimate growth. That's its strength. But then we can say, well, let's flip it over. That's also its weakness. I've only heard about glucose here, haven't I? It needs 30 times more glucose than a healthy cell. That's good news, isn't it? Knowing that a cancer cell needs way more. That makes me think, okay, well, if I just had less glucose, that would help, wouldn't it? Yeah. And the interesting thing is glucose-sensitive cancers are what are called metabolically rigid. And when I say glucose-sensitive cancers, I'm going to use breast cancer as an example. So I was talking to one of my friends who is oncologist, and I shared this information one time with him after a step class. He was one of my steppers. And he says, well, yeah, breast cancer is a glucose-sensitive cancer, Barbara, because we inject dye in glucose and we send it into the area, and you can actually see that dye going straight to the cancer cells. Now, it's not the dye is going to the cancer cell, it's that the cancer cell is pulling the dyed glucose toward it, right? And knowing that glucose-sensitive cancer cells that really rely on glucose are metabolically rigid, means they're stiff, they're unflexible. That first bullet, healthy cells, that's every other cell in our body that's working right. We know, shifters, that they can use glucose and ketones. Wait, there's another fuel? Yeah, there's another awesome fuel. Now look at the second bullet. Cancer cells utilize glucose and no, they don't. They can't. Is that powerful news for us to grab a hold of? I think so. So wait. Okay, hypothesis or connecting the dots, critical thinking. Let's put some dots together. We're saying a healthy cell can use glucose and or ketones, but cancer cells can only utilize glucose. Well, what about these ketones for those of you who are not in our community yet? Well, when our body utilizes fat, whether it's dietary fat or, hey, on a great day, which is a great day in our community every day, our body fat for fuel, when we're using that for fuel instead of glucose, these energy particles called ketones are generated. You've heard the word ketones. They might have made you nervous, they might have made you unsure, but they're simply energy particles that your body makes when you're burning fat. It's just natural. Your body will make ketones when you're burning body fat. And they are powerful. They are powerful brain food. That's why when someone's losing weight, they're actually using their body fat. They're using their weight And then you look at them and say, what are you doing differently? You look like you have a lot of energy. You look like all pumped up. Like, yeah, I'm actually riding on ketones. That's actually a thing. And it's real. Okay? And what did we say? Can't use ketones? Cancer cells. You see, Jeff, why you're going to be cool? You're going to be just fine. Okay? So glycolysis is our body's natural metabolic state when we are burning glucose, sugar. It's one and the same word. Outsiders think sugar, we're just talking about like a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. No, we're talking about all carbohydrate. Okay, that's glucose. Now, when we're in glycolysis, burning sugar, all that holistic, pure, colorful, radiant carbohydrate that everyone's sometimes pushing out there in the nutrient and dietitian world, cancer can be humming on that. Cancer is probably having the last laugh on us when we're following those rules, aren't they? Isn't it? But the cool thing to know is that using glucose as our primary fuel source actually produces free radicals. It's an oxidative mechanism, which means like rusting. We put out free radicals, which are molecules that are missing electrons. So they don't like to be unbalanced. So they're trying to steal electrons from each other. And it's almost like a ricocheting, rippling effect of damage. That's why you hear a lot of sugar burners. You know who they are, right? The whole food eaters that are just telling you shouldn't have any butter with your whatever. They're putting a lot of free radicals. So they're always trying to chase antioxidants. Well, here's the cool thing. If you just switch to ketosis, fat burning, first of all, cancer will be at the very least hindered. I try to use a soft word there. It's being starved. It's being thwarted. It's certainly being tricked, isn't it? But you're going to produce ketones instead of free radicals. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, I think so. So just being in ketosis itself is antioxidative because you're not producing free radicals in the first place. Okay? So here's the magic. And it's not magic, it's science. We can actually starve cancer cells that might be taking hold within us while we fuel our healthy cells on our own body fat. I think everybody in the world would raise their hands and say, yes, please. I'll take some of that, right? So let's start understanding how we can actually do that. How can I starve my cancer cells that might be there and actually fuel the rest of me on my own body fat? Well, to understand how to do this, we need to understand fuel. And it all comes down to food, doesn't it? Now, our body makes its own glucose to an extent, okay? But food is really the fuel. We all know that. We're all fueling with food. But blood glucose and insulin are both directly influenced by food. Sorry, I said that word again, my 4-letter word, food. But all food is actually divided up into simple macronutrients. And this is where it gets confusing because the world will throw out so many different categories, and we'll see a few of those later. But we know there's just 3. And each of those 3 has a quite specific individual and different blood sugar and insulin effect. Let's take a look. Interestingly, your blood sugar and your subsequent insulin response to the blood sugar will be affected little to none at all by foods that are fats. All your fats and oils. Isn't that something when we've been told to run from fat? Like, wait a minute. Yep, that's true. Now, as far as protein has a moderate effect. And it really depends upon how much we're consuming and how much our body actually needs when we're consuming it. Okay? So if I'm taking in protein shakes to get protein, that commercial we hear for getting protein in the morning, and protein is very beneficial. It's actually an essential macronutrient. So is fat an essential macronutrient. We need to consume it. Our body can't create it. But if we take in more than we need for rebuilding and repairing, the excess can't be stored. So it'll be converted to fuel that we can use. It'll be converted to glucose just like carbohydrate gets converted to glucose. If you've ever heard someone say, oh, protein can behave like a carbohydrate, that's what they mean. it can actually influence blood sugar and subsequently trigger insulin response. So fat is no, protein a little bit, carbohydrate has the greatest effect. In fact, it's complete. Every gram of carbohydrate is blood sugar. Yes, you can pull out the fiber amount because fiber goes right through us and out the other end. Yeah, cool, I can pull the fiber out. But every other gram of carbohydrate actually is blood sugar. We need to look at it that way. I used to always think, how much is this going to impact my blood sugar? And now I just say to everybody, that is blood sugar. So how many grams is that? Like that apple is probably about 24 grams of carbohydrate. So that's 24 kind of grams of blood sugar. But we know there's a little bit of math to that, and we'll get to that a little bit sooner. But it's important to know that that last food is, very softly, but connect the dots in a court of law. That's cancer cell fuel. The butter's not. The egg could be, but not much because there's fat and protein in there, right? But of those three, which one you would pick? I never would have thought that would have been like the one I would pull out years ago. But the world has us in this conventional protocol stranglehold that can be overbearing. It has us overreaching for foods we might not even have reached for before. We certainly can end up overfeeding ourselves because we're told to keep our nutritional arsenal fortified. Did you get in all your feedings? And quite honestly, it can be overwhelming, right? This, the words on the left-hand side of your screen, I just pulled those off the internet. It was a breast cancer advocacy organization who wrote this for their women. Aim high. We can all stand to eat more vegetables. Yeah, okay, I can see that. When it comes to colorful produce, the sky is the limit. Rich in antioxidants and nutrients. We give fruits and vegetables a little bit more credit than it really deserves. Our body makes the most powerful antioxidant, glutathione. It's really interesting that we don't need this stuff as much as we think. It's going to boost immune function to some powerful effect and decrease inflammation. All of that actually contributes to inflammation because it's all glucose, blood sugar driven. Colorful produce is probably the most important thing you can eat. Let me change that. Colorful produce is probably the highest in glucose vegetable you can eat. The brighter the color, the more glucose, the more sugar. That's why you stick with the greens more so, okay? So the richer the colors, and that was a typo in their organization, the richer the colors, that more nutrients. So aim for variety in color by trying to eat the rainbow every day. And I had one of our new shifters come to me and she says, oh my gosh, that was me. Every Sunday, I went to the local farmer's market, got every color of the rainbow, sliced and diced, packaged and prepackaged, put in the refrigerator so that she and her daughter, who both had different health challenges going on, trying to eat the rainbow every day. So much so that we see these images, and I'll tell you, they are beautiful. My 70s girl, I was a rainbow lover. So my eyes are just drawn to that, and everything there looks pretty darn delicious, doesn't it? Right? So I went and looked online today as I was preparing this for us, and the idea, again, at the top was from a breast cancer advocacy program. Aim for at least 4 to 6 cups a day. Use smoothies and juices to make this easier. And fresh fruit, of course, keep trying to get more. So here's this healthy anti-cancer smoothie recipe. It's labeled as such, and it was just launched last June. Okay, you can read what it says underneath. I see nutritious, I see whole, I see anti-cancer, but I also see idea, and we should, and maybe we should try, fill, bing. But my shifters are going straight to the right-hand side. I know your eyes are going right to the numbers, right? Now, I give this organization props, whoever wrote this, because they at least gave us the breakdown, the macronutrient breakdown that's going to impact us, okay? And if you look, there's nothing in the fat category, so for some reason, everyone thinks that's a good idea. There's very little in the protein. So the interesting thing is here, let's think back. We said fat and protein are both essential macronutrients. We must eat these to sustain health. Carbohydrates are completely non-essential. The world will tell you you need them. You don't actually need them. You still want to enjoy them and use them, but you don't need them. But look at that. The one macronutrient we don't actually essentially need as a human being, it's all about that. And when you do the math, we know this, that's 65 grams of carbohydrate in your first feeding of the day. Actually, and you would learn this in our program, that's 16 teaspoons of blood sugar. Literally in your bloodstream, 16 teaspoons of cancer cell fuel.
Amazing.
And so we're writing that this is an anti-cancer smoothie. This is why I go crazy. Because it looks so right. You know, who's not going to believe a rainbow? We all love rainbows. It's very hard. So then we move on. And I found this one as I was putting together my green goddess. Now, I'm going to call this one out because I looked completely on this website and couldn't find anywhere the macronutrient breakdown. But now that you know a little bit about fat, protein, and carbohydrate and which one of those three is cancer cell fuel, there's nothing in there that's not cancer cell fuel except for ingredient number 1. Now, the spinach leaves are incredibly low carbohydrate. So yeah, leave the 5 cups of spinach in, absolutely. And the lemon, got it. But the banana, this apple, the pear, the optional berries, and a splash of your favorite juice, and again, but this is what we're up against. It's hard. And then, of course, you have www.cleaneating. And, you know, we just lost a dear woman in our, when our kids grew up together back in Westchester. She just passed away of breast cancer. And she battled the same bulge that we've all battled, right around our middle. And I know what she was trying to do, follow all of these rules, which creates belly fat because it's insulin and blood sugar. We wear our blood sugar around our waist. If you've ever thought to yourself, I don't have a blood sugar problem. If you have a waist that's a problem, that's a blood sugar problem right there. Okay? I call it our insulin belt sometimes because thanks to insulin, that belt is growing. But my shifters, thanks to insulin less, their waist is whittling, right? And so is their risk for cancer and these other things. So, and here's another one I found on the left-hand side that comes to you from a cancer advocacy group. Carbohydrates, you need them. And this is right. Focus on whole foods instead of refined. Absolutely. But whole grains, beans, legumes, which are the same thing. Bean sprouts, rich in protein, fiber, and other good for you nutrients. Starchy vegetables like winter squash, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, and corn. Guess what? They're vegetables. Well, we all know corn is not a vegetable. It's a grain. Eat them. But if you look on the right, you would learn this in our program, how to look at foods for what they really are. And none of these foods are off limits. And none of the foods that are even in the white verbiage section, they're not off limits either. But you learn that they're not going to solve something you think they're solving, right? And I know in the nutritional world, we hold beets in such high regard. It is a source of glutathione, which protects our biome. We learned this. It's an antioxidant. Awesome. But guess what, everybody? Your body makes glutathione all by itself, thank you. Especially when we're eating foods like spinach and salmon and butter. Yeah, butter. And look at the carbohydrate in 1 cup of beets at the bottom right. That's the highest in carbohydrate. That's the highest in cancer cell glucose. So no, don't eat more beets to kill cancer. Eat beets knowing what you're doing, right? Don't not eat beets necessarily, but know what you're doing. And the nutritional advice out there using the myplate.gov, right? Another example on the left, pulled from the internet. Opt for organic protein, pastured and wild-caught options. Really good, whenever possible. But then it says to decrease the amount you're eating. Decrease the serving size of, like, say, salmon, wild-caught salmon on your plate to make room for more vegetables. What are you saying out loud? They're telling us to make more room for carbohydrate. Make protein less and make carbohydrate more is what that's saying. Because look, the grains are carbohydrate. The fruits are carbohydrate. The vegetables are carbohydrate. The protein is protein, everybody, right? Why make that less? And then, of course, the dairy thing they have in the corner, that's fat and protein and some carbohydrate. It's a little mixture of all three. People don't know what to do with that one. So they put it in the corner at the top. I'm sorry, but it just seems so... But you see how we get so confused? We label foods in these categories, but we don't put the categories in a big planet. No one thinks of grains, fruit, not no one, many out there, they don't look at foods for what they really are, fat, protein, or carbohydrate. So they show us pictures like this and say, this is how we should be eating. As long as it's nutritionally dense, as long as it's organic, as long as it's made with love, as long as you're eating it mindfully and gratefully, as long as you're eating it not too much. You stop before you're full. If the third bite doesn't taste as good as the first bite, you stop eating. Oh my gosh. And we're supposed to do that while we're battling cancer? Okay, so let's look at carbohydrate. And I don't want anyone to run thinking we don't eat carbohydrates and shift. Yes, we do. We enjoy our carbohydrate. We just don't let our carbohydrate enjoy us. So carbohydrate, why it is challenging for avoiding cancer is because it is cancer cell fuel. It digests very rapidly to glucose because all carbohydrate is made from sugar molecules and starch, which is connected sugar molecules. So whether it's complex or simple, they both break down to glucose. It doesn't matter if it's organic or not organic. Same amount of glucose. And it immediately, very quickly enters the bloodstream. And those of us in the diabetes world, we're a little smarter than the average bear. We know it creates a blood sugar, literally a surge. That's what you say, I'm on spike in my blood sugar. Hear people say that? That's what they mean. And what I know of that is, that's a glucose cancer cell fuel surplus, right? And here's the thing. The enemy that we're trying to learn about, that energy is primed. Cancer cells know how this works and can take advantage of any spike in our glucose for its growth. Remember we said it has an overabundant amount of insulin receptors. Our healthy cells, picture like a tennis ball with 7 dots on it. That's how many insulin receptors our healthy cells have. Now picture the same tennis ball with 70 insulin receptors on it. Who's going to get the glucose first? Our healthy cells or the damn cancer cells? The damn cancer cells. Cancer cells are exquisitely sensitive. So you're thinking what I'm thinking, right? What's priority number 1 to disrupt cancer cell advantage? The words are in red, aren't they? We want to lessen or smarten or tighten our carbohydrate intake, and it's easier than you might think. Right, shifters? Back me up. We want to lessen the amount of the amount of sugar in our blood. All of us have sugar in our blood. All of us have blood sugar spikes. And all of us have insulin responding to our blood sugar spikes. We just don't know it. We just don't know about the insulin. Cancer cells support hormone which triggers insulin growth factor and tumor angiogenesis, blood vessel growth, right? So our defense, remember we said our best offense is a good defense? This is our defense. Maximize fat intake. Yum. Thank you. Right? All the foods we've been told I can't go near. Boom. First thing on my plate. We want to moderate or just understand our protein intake. That always works out for itself. As soon as we learn, oh my gosh, I don't have to drink protein shakes anymore. Nope, you don't. You're going to be just fine, just eating normally. And we want to minimize carbohydrate intake. There's nothing extreme about this. It's just a shift of paradigm, right? And when you're out there trolling the internet, I want you to think about these gentle warnings that I've written. Well, first of all, everything behind the white words, that's all carbohydrates. And they are beautiful, and they are colorful, and they are tasty. And they all provide some kind of nutritional, value. But we're wise to understand which ones to gravitate towards and which ones to use less often, right? But here's powerful stuff. Many people will just cop out and say, well, I just eat plant-based, or you should eat plant-based, or my plant-based diet is best. Well, you can just gently say, well, a plant-based diet's actually that's a carbohydrate-based diet. You know that, right? Because all plants are carbohydrates. No one ever says, I eat a protein-based diet or a fat-based diet. Well, some of us might say that. But plant-based diet is a carbohydrate-based diet, which is what? Glucose-based diet. An organic, in my mind, is panic without promise, meaning an organic something and a not labeled organic something. The organic doesn't have any more nutritional power. It doesn't have any magical properties. It doesn't have any extra arsenal that's going to kill cancer. Now, it's not going to have maybe pesticides. It might be raised humanely, which are all very noble and pure. They're things to go for. But don't think that just because it's organic, it's promising you something's going to positively happen inside of you. Okay? So the other side of that coin is don't panic if you can't get organic. Just wash it down real good, right? Now, when it comes to meats or animal products, you do want to go grass-fed and humanely raised, because we want to eat meat that has been raised upon the foods that it's supposed to eat. A cow is not supposed to eat corn. A cow's supposed to eat grass, okay? And then whole and real are not a done deal. Meaning if I just ate whole and real enough, my life would change. Okay? You'd have to understand the foundation, which we just all went through. Okay? So eating plentiful fruits, vegetables, and whole grains supports cancer cell with both fuel and growth hormones. How many of you can raise your hands have had a doctor, nutritionist, sports expert, somebody say to you, make sure you have plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains? It's the go-to phrase. I don't think they even think about it anymore. It just comes out. Thank you for raising your hands, guys. I see them. We were told that for our daughter. In fact, we started having her eat more of it, and she got sicker. So what we do here in our community is we shift from cancer supporting to cancer thwarting and using up any belly fat in the process. It's all the same action. This was me. That's me bending over in the store. No, it's not actually me. But we see these advertisements all the time. I'm a group fitness instructor. I get certified every 2 years. I take nutrition courses all the time. I know what it feels like to be lost in there. Now I'm not lost at all anymore. I just answer the questions wrong, and I get my 100, even though I answer questions wrong. How to best
wrong
go, right?
Based on
meaning
what they're looking for.
They're looking for a different answer. I'm like, that's not the correct answer, but I'm going to put down A anyway because I know what you're asking. You want me to say that this is the way to go. It's not the way to go. Okay? None of those foods is bad or wrong. But the implication is that that's it. It's a seductive slope that leads us just down. And it leads us to a place of uncertainty. What is the greatest stressor for human beings? Uncertainty. What do I eat? How do I help get through her or his diagnosis? Well, with shift, uncertainty becomes this. And it just doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you know. Yeah.
Yeah, certainty, peace of mind, especially when it comes to cancer. I mean, going to bed at night knowing, I've done everything I can today.
Absolutely.
To prevent it or to fight it or whatever it is. And also to know tomorrow it's going to be just as, can I use the word easy? I mean,
it is easy.
My goodness, we've been doing this
simplified,
for 7
streamlined,
years, and we don't, technically
Cravings
have to.
gone.
We didn't
Right.
start it for any health reason other than to support our daughter, and we would never ever go back simply because it's fun
It's
not being
easy.
hungry most of the day.
And it
It's
feels good, energized.
yeah.
But also, I was going to say, we all know what it feels like to take so much action, to try, to hope, to believe. I believe it's going to work. But there's nothing but right action.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So speaking of that, and as you mentioned just a minute ago, life's greatest stressor, it's that uncertainty, especially in this day and age. My goodness, the internet, that Google machine, the newspapers, the magazine racks, the commercials we hear, especially this time of year, it's maddening, not to mention the uncertainty we get when we speak to our medical team. And, they're giving us information that they really can't explain in many cases, or again, as we started out at the beginning of this, they don't have the time to explain. So it's really, really tough out there, and that's why we're here, and it's why when it comes to cancer, we created this program, which we call, Cancer Smarts. When you have smarts, when you know what you're doing, you can expose that weak link. And in 30 days, my goodness, you see what you gained tonight in a matter of about 45 minutes here with Barb. We've laid it all out in a 30-day program that educates, that provides you the right action. There's no spinning your wheels. There's no spending money on things that you don't need. And the coaching. You actually work with Barb and myself so that you can protect yourself and reclaim your health and vitality while losing weight naturally. Because you now know it's all connected. Yeah. We take care of the cancer as well as all these other conditions. So you'll know how to fight, survive, and avoid cancer, as well as eliminating cravings.
It's amazing. Talk about the freedom.
That's the first thing within hours, right?
Yeah.
Lose the weight, or as we call, using your body fat.
And then you go back to your doctor the next time and they say, wait, how did you do that? And I say, I got my shift together, right? Yeah.
And what we call dominating diabetes rather than the reverse, where it is for most people. They're just victims of diabetes because they don't get the guidance, and what guidance they get is exactly what you're getting for cancer. It's eat the rainbow, right? Stress less, live more, and get that rock solid certainty that you now know. You know exactly what you need to do, not for today, tomorrow, but for the rest of your life. You can get all that in 30 days, in a matter of weeks. So you can replace dieting and deprivation with a lifestyle. And guess what? You eat the food you love. And you get everything at your local grocery. And our clients tell us they save.
The other day, one of our shifters said, she not only is she losing weight, but it's less money. She's, my God, I have money in the bank. Everything's less, she said.
It's amazing.
My waste is less, my cost is less. Yeah.
So
great.
we on average $100 plus a month, and that doesn't include, that's just groceries. That doesn't include all the, in many cases, supplements that folks are taking, the protein powders, the monthly shipments of vitamins and all that. So you can say goodbye to buying pills, powders, potions, and products and special foods forever, and it's all in the next 30 days. So this is specifically for you if any of those, or all of those in many cases, speak to you. So let me just go through this program real quick. Everything in the program you'll find this is unbelievably comprehensive. We have left nothing out. First and foremost, you're getting us. So every week you're invited to a live coaching session face-to-face. It's a video conference, so we can get into your specific condition, challenge, lifestyle, health goal, you name it. And you also get the step-by-step instructions. So you get access to the membership site, the actual course, or step-by-step videos every day. You watch 10, 15, 20-minute engaging, entertaining videos that tell you exactly what you need to do. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know exactly what you're doing. And in addition to that, you get everything you need, including meal plans and recipes. As we tell everyone, you don't need any of that stuff, but we give it to you because we were there 6 years ago when we first started out. We're like, oh my goodness, what do we eat? and we were like petrified, like, oh my goodness, our universe of food has like we were thinking it shrunk, but it's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we have well over 100 recipes, very quick, easy to make. You'll find you're spending way less time in the kitchen.
Way less time
going
in the
forward.
kitchen.
And making foods
They say fight cancer in the kitchen. I say go live outside of the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
You get daily action checklists every single day for the next 30 days. You're going to know exactly what you need to do because we spell it out. Do this, do this, do this. Watch this. So you get the checklists, you get the planners. There's nothing like it out there, gang. You get everything in the program that you need, plus additional resources I don't have time to go through here. But the weeks are broken up so that we follow our 3-step system. All right. So this is again, we've been doing this for 5 years now. It's well thought out, and you're gaining from what we've learned now, what we've gleaned over these past 5 years of working with individuals, privately, individually, and in classes and coaching sessions. Week 1, we build the foundation. All right. You're going to learn the insulin suppression lifestyle. And it starts with, as Barb mentioned in the beginning, looking at food through the lens of insulin suppression. So we provide you the food clarity. Week 2, we get into what I call hungerless intermittent fasting.
I like accidental
fasting.
unintentional fasting.
You know, and
right?
it's the way it works. I mean, you'll just find it. You'll wake up tomorrow, and based on what you had to eat today, you just aren't hungry most of the day.
And there's that autophagy. There's that cancer cell apoptosis popping in.
Bingo.
Right?
Yep. So that's huge. So you can see already in the first 2 weeks, my goodness, you're just that.
Yeah.
You're set for life. But we don't stop there, because week 3, we get into what I call how to develop your sugar or fat sponge. It's where you're literally sweeping, as you put it, sweeping the sugar out of your system, and we teach you how to do that in week 3, and then week 4 is what we call our lifestyle acceleration. All right, so this is where we get you ready for the rest of your life, living with vitality and doing this instinctually without even thinking about it. It took us a good couple of years to really get this under our belt, because we were just figuring it out along the way.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I'm listening to many of your coaching sessions, and they're like in literally days to a couple of weeks, they've got it. It's like
they come out all firing.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
So week 1, as I mentioned, food clarity. You're going to know beyond a shadow of a doubt how to eat your way deliciously out of health chaos, medication, and frustration, while losing weight, eliminating cravings, and gaining energy. You're going to know how to save big dollars at the grocery store, as we shared, and shop like a pro in half the time it took you in the past. That was one of my fears. Like, oh my goodness, it's going to turn grocery shopping into a nightmare.
Nope.
And I spend less time in the grocery store than I ever have, and I actually enjoy it now, because I end up doing most of the grocery food shopping. You got to know how to navigate challenging social situations. So if you're concerned about, well, what do I do at the wedding, or the cruise I'm going to go on, the vacation, or whatnot, well, the answer is you're going to know. All right, because we're going to teach you how to navigate all that, and it really becomes like, oh, that's really not a big deal. Know how to spend less time in the kitchen, as Barb said, and eat better than ever before. The meals we eat now are, I've told you this, they're way better than what we ever had.
We used to. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, everything's better with butter.
Week 2, the intermittent fasting, the accidental fasting, as Barb calls it. It's why I'm not hungry or I don't do lunch will become your go-to sayings. You just won't be hungry most of the day, and your first real solid food will probably be sometime in the afternoon, like it is for both of us and many of our clients. You're gonna boost HGH, which promotes muscle building and youthfulness. You're gonna learn all about that in week 2. The whole detox thing, which is the anti-Alzheimer's and cancer magic bullet, as Barb got into a little bit tonight. She's really gonna drill down in week 2. Then on week 3, it's the, as I call it, the sugar sponge interval training. We're gonna teach you how to replace muscle loss with muscle growth. Very easy ways to do that. When you know what you're doing and when you're focused, you'll see. Easy to follow muscle building routines, and how to optimize body fat burning to the max. That is right there, man, the magic bullet. Then the final week is how we make this your lifestyle and fit it into your busy schedule. We have folks that are ice road truckers living in a truck 7 days a week, to moms with young kids and a busy career and everything in between. So there isn't a lifestyle that this doesn't work for, and it actually makes your life easier. You're going to learn how to communicate to your doctor, your spouse, your friends, and strangers, which are important. Well, maybe not the stranger part. You can say whatever you want to strangers.
It's actually easy to communicate with strangers.
Yeah. And strategies to keep you focused and not get derailed, which is really, really important. Because as you saw, there's so much misinformation out there. Many of it is designed to kind of lead you down the trail to buy the pills, powders, potions, and all that for life that you don't need. All right. So you're getting the exact system that we use for our private clients that are paying in excess of $2,000, but you're getting it all at a much more affordable price. I mean, everything we shared with you, and I didn't share everything, when you add it up, if you go on our website and buy it all, it's $769, but you're not going to pay that. In fact, you won't pay the $395, which is where we will sell this program after we launch it. All right. But today, you're getting everything I shared with you: the coaching, the checklist, the courses and programs for $149 or $147. Actually, you're saving $2 additional. I just gave a $2 bonus. You can get all this at cancer-smarts.com. So if you want to know how to fight, survive, or avoid cancer, eliminate cravings, as I mentioned, use body fat.
Just naturally, without even exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the exercise in there, but this happens without it.
Get ahead of diabetes for life. Never look back. Get rid of that stress and live more, and get that rock solid certainty, all in less than 30 days. You replace dieting and deprivation with a lifestyle. That's so important. Diets don't work. They're short-term fixes, and then what happens? You go back to life, and then everything comes back. We return to where we were. You're going to eat the food you love, and as I mentioned, you're buying everything at local grocery and saving big bucks. So there's no pills, powders, potions. Everything you need, you get at your local grocery. But there's a lot more to the program. All right, we have 6 bonuses in addition to everything I shared with you. All right, bonus number 1 is our 21-day transformation program. You're actually getting access to it right away, so you will know exactly step by step what you need to do to live the insulin suppression lifestyle. This is where we started. This was the foundational, fundamental program. All right, you're going to get all that. Cholesterol is a big question that many folks have. Well, if I eat this way, what about cholesterol? Well, guess what? You're going to have certainty, all right? You're going to get the cholesterol, the real story. You're going to cut through the myths and misinformation surrounding the impact of cholesterol on heart disease, brain health, mood, and more, all right? So you'll have access to that. That comes with the program. You won't have to buy it on our website for $47. Nutrition. Barb got into it a little bit tonight. She does a deep dive in this program. What you get as a part of the program is bonus number 3. And calories, another biggie. Do calories count? What about calories? If I'm eating this fat, what does this mean? Well, you're going to know. Again, you're going to get complete certainty, and you're going to find out what the deal is with calories. And again, why much of that information is just misleading, flat out misleading. Bonus number 5 is our intermittent fasting program. You're going to know how to tap into the holy grail of great health strategies, the easy, hunger-free way. This is not about white-knuckling and starving yourself and looking at your watch every 10 minutes going, oh my God, I have 2 more hours before I can eat again. No. There is none of that. You're just going to learn how to fast naturally. And then when you get hungry, guess what? You eat. But we have client after client after client that have gone, my goodness, I don't want to scare anyone.
They're superstars. They're rock stars.
Hours and hours and hours without even thinking about food, and that'll be you. And then bonus number 6, which is the special announcement. We are just launching this. We just got this out the other day for our other program that we launched 2 weeks ago. And we're following the same formula here. So you actually get this physical manual. It is 238 pages, chock full of everything that we cover in the program in writing. The checklists are here, everything you need. You don't have to print anything. It's going to be shipped to your doorstep, okay? You get all of that at cancer-smarts.com. And by the way, this is the first time we've ever put anything in a manual like this. It's been requested for a number of years, and we finally figured out how to do it. So in that book, you're getting all of our recipes, well over 100 recipes. You're getting the intermittent fasting program, you're getting the Shift 21-day transformation program, as well as all of our checklists and resources inside that manual. It's, oh my goodness, talk about something that'll be around for years that you'll be referencing. So when you look at all those bonuses, if you were to buy them on our website, they total $678. They come to you completely free when you invest in the program at cancer-smarts.com. And and by the way, you also get lifetime access to everything. So even though this is a 30-day get-her-done accelerated program, you get access to everything for life. Okay. This is, again, as you can see here, this is a very, very special launch value that you're getting. So if you're interested, take advantage tonight. 30-day money-back guarantee, absolutely. All you need to do is make sure you complete everything. So you get the action checklist, get those in on time, and attend the weekly coaching session, which, by the way, why wouldn't you? I mean, my goodness, those things are hugely valuable. So the way we did it with the program that we launched 2 weeks ago, which was our BOSS program, what we call our Cravings and Weight Loss BOSS program, is we printed 20 copies and the first come, first serve. Okay, so we don't know if this program is going to take off or if it's going to be like, a million copies. So we give the first 20 to give us a feel for the interest in the program. You get the advantage of the pricing. We also ship this to you for free, so you don't have to pay shipping. And this is a substantial book that weighs a lot, and therefore the postage is significant. And besides the printing price, so you can get this if you're one of the first 20 at cancer-smarts.com. And yes, once we get through the 20, we will be raising the price, obviously, as you can see. Okay, so this is of interest. Now is the time. We will be starting this program. You will get access to this program next week. So if you're thinking, I can't start tomorrow, I've got too much going on, that's okay. You have literally a week before you'll even get anything in the program, because we're just launching this, okay? So there you have all the bonuses today, 147 for the whole program, as well as the bonuses. And I want to make sure before I wrap up, see what we have questions wise. Don't forget, if you have questions, we can go through those in just another 30 seconds or so here. But just to wrap up where I was going, you're at the point now, you've watched this entire presentation, and I know you want certainty in this world of health chaos. It's certainly where we were with our daughter. It was maddening. And it's what we're dealing now with, what we see with the cancer world and all this craziness out there. As you saw, my goodness, the anti-cancer smoothie with, can you imagine shoveling 16 teaspoons of sugar in your mouth? I mean, that's...
I know.
It's just...
When people, it makes me crazy.
I know. So, this is an excellent value. Take advantage of the incredible discount and the amazing bonuses. And you just flat out can't lose the guarantee. Do it now before you forget. Go to cancersmarts.com where you get access to everything. Okay? How are we looking questions wise?
I think we just had a lot of, kind of supportive comments.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. This is just evidence. I could go on for days with the results that we've gotten for all kinds of conditions.
Including cancer.
Well, I was just going to say, and as you now know, that they're all connected, whether they're cancer or diabetes or
heart
even
disease.
things. Yep. Cholesterol, blood pressure, certainly chronic pain, fibromyalgia. It's all connected. So if you take care of that one thing, everything else softens or completely resolves. So, and weight is, again, we've always looked at weight as the icing on the cake. It's not, although we get many a shifter that comes in because of weight, certainly, it just happens.
Yeah.
It's not a weight loss program, but you lose weight. So I see John's comment. It's 6:00 in Arizona and I haven't eaten yet. And
he means all day.
Yeah.
Because he's not hungry.
Yeah.
And he's shifting, and he knows how. And what that means is that right now, all these hours, John's been self-fueling, using your own body fat.
Yeah.
And that means we're losing it because we're using it up.
Yeah, and the important 2 words there, no hunger.
No hunger.
Yep. So we've got story after story, certainly from a weight loss standpoint. Sandra, who just mentioned to us in a training we did back in January, and we hadn't heard from her in probably over a half a year. Last conversation, she was down 20 some odd pounds, and a year later she's down 50 pounds. And she just raves about how it's so easy. She's not battling cravings, and she's just living life and living it way better than she had, certainly minus the weight. Susan Gregan, who, what a story there. The short version is she was battling a wound. Her back surgery healing wasn't happening for 2 years. Her doctor looked at her and said, Susan, I don't know what else we can do for you. They had given up on her. Fortunately, Susan found us. The wound closed in a matter of months. Diabetes medication was reduced and then eventually taken off, and the weight resolved. Inflammation. She was walking again, where before she was getting around in a cart. So just again, another example of you take care of one thing and these other issues resolve. Els fractured her foot literally right before she started the program, and thought she was afraid to get on the scale. And I told her, as I tell everyone, don't go on the scale. It doesn't tell you anything, but she did, and she said, lo and behold, she had lost 19 pounds. 0 exercise, basically, just, Luann, crazy story here, but really not when you understand what's going on. Her husband, 4 years ago, was told he had a blockage, and that he needed, it wasn't large enough to do anything surgically yet, but at some point his day would come. So every 6 months for 4 years, George would visit his cardiologist, and they would do their test, and then he'd get the yay or nay. And the last time he went in was right before Thanksgiving. And prior to that, George had lost a significant amount of weight just simply following Luann. He really didn't know what he was doing. He was just eating the same foods. And during the 6 months prior to that he started eating the same foods as Luann, he lost 25 pounds, I believe it was, got off of blood pressure medication and cholesterol. And but the icing on the cake, again, was his test the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The surgeon comes out and says, George, can you just wait a few minutes? We need to recheck something. And it was at that point he was ready to call Luann and say, hey, pack my bag and meet me at the hospital because they're probably going to rush me to surgery. And they came back out and said, yeah, there's no sign of any blockage, none at all. I just can't believe this. I've never seen this happen for anyone before, they told him. And as Luann mentions there in the post, the only thing that's changed in his life has been our shifted way of eating. So, your body resolves. We don't see this stuff, much like when we started earlier this evening with Bob Harper. We don't see the good, we don't see the bad. So, but now now you have certainty that if you follow this path, you're going to resolve conditions that are currently happening in your body. And you're going to have, again, that certainty of knowing that going forward, that's not going to be your story. Nancy, from size 16 to size 8 pants and on her way down to a size 6, and on and on and on. I mean, Barb Bloom, just starting this journey, and already I'm not looking for between meals snacks. Huge shift for me.
The liberation from food is profound.
Yep. Fibromyalgia pain, Donna, 10 years she put up with it. It's amazing, what we as humans will put up with, and put up with, in that I know in Donna's case, she saw many a doctor and they all kind of gave her the same look and the same prescription, right? It's like, well,
just keep eating healthy and exercise.
Yeah, and my goodness, she was
did it both.
Running
every day.
7 days a week, 5 miles a day. Her body was breaking down. She started getting hurt.
Trying to lose weight.
The fibromyalgia she thought she was stuck with, but she was trying to manage her weight, and even with all that running, she kept gaining weight. Well, now we know why. Of course, Donna is now, last time we talked with her last year, 44 pounds down, and I'm sure way more. Yep.
Pain-free.
So, even though this says Weight Loss Boss 30-Day Program, it is actually the Cancer Smarts Program. So I'm going to go back to that slide, and we will... do we have any questions coming in?
I didn't see any questions. And I see Steph's here, and John was sharing, and I can't see anybody else's right now.
Okay, well, good, because I can't find that
You
slide
know, and
anyway.
it's just so empowering to know. KNOW. Just know.
Yeah.
I just want to know, right? What is it about cancer that I can control? You know, some people say, I control my food. I'm like, yeah, but I don't think you realize what the food's doing.
Yeah.
And the fact that everyone says eat for cancer, I'm like saying, you know what? Let's not eat. Let's comfortably stop eating.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what solves or resolves cancer, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Diane, I see your comment about you. Sounds like you got interrupted, and we'll do our best to get the recording out. And I say do our best because sometimes technology gets in the way, and the recordings get trashed. And I only say that because my computer was acting very funny earlier today.
Yes, it was.
But assuming we don't have a catastrophe, we will get that out. All right. I hate to promise someone something and then they go, never. Let's see. We get through. Yeah. All right. I mean, again, you did an excellent job. No question. There are very few questions. John says, I am taking the BOSS program and it is so comprehensive, covers it all. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's so comforting to be certain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty in life. There's curveballs from everywhere. At least I know what the heck I'm putting on my plate, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm free from food, and I feel good.
Yeah.
And I know when you troll the internet, right, Steph, we can get so lost. Oh my gosh.
And that's also why we put the program together the way we did.
Yeah.
Because we know that it's easy to get lost. Even if we gave you the checklist and the step-by-step instruction videos and on and on and on, but didn't give you access to talk with us.
Yeah.
I know there's a percentage of folks that would just get distracted or would misinterpret something, and oftentimes it's just something real small. You know, I gave you the example of a pilot that is just off by 1%, you know, flying out of Philadelphia. You know, by the time they get to the West Coast, even though they were shooting for Los Angeles, they end up, you know, I forget where, but it's above San Francisco. I mean, a significant difference.
Redwood Forest.
So it doesn't take much, and when you are inundated with all this other information, it's those little things that, you know, I call them bumps in the road that can just all of a sudden give you that flat tire, or veer you off into the woods somewhere. And if you didn't have access to us, you would just say, oh, the heck with it. You know, this is just like all the other things I tried, and forget it. You know, it must be me, or, you know, making up all these excuses.
The blame shame game.
Yep. Cindy says, I had breast cancer 15 years ago and had been a vegetarian, no-fat eater. Just goes to show you I was feeding it then. Yeah. And Cindy, so were we.
That was us.
We were, although we, as we mentioned, didn't battle cancer as far as we knew anyway. Yeah. We did our stent as vegetarians way back in the day in the 90s. So, you know, and it was the same deal. I mean, it's like our health clubs. You know, you want to believe, and it all makes sense on the surface. And it wasn't until Erin, our daughter, came down with type 1 that Barb did the crazy intense digging until she was able to piece it all together.
And it all comes down to the insulin.
Yeah.
Glucose, insulin.
Yeah. Jeff says the program gives you control of your health. Yeah, Jeff would know. Yeah, thanks, Jeff. All right. Well, it is time for us to
let you go
on, and we have. I think we've gone through. I just saw another comment come through. All right, just a thanks. Super. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah. Mostly Barb, but I appreciate you including me.
Steph.
Thank you, Steph. All right. Well, we'll let you guys go. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll look forward
calm.
to seeing many of you.
Shift on.
Yeah, in future shift sessions. Ooh, I almost got myself in trouble there. And that's...
Don't forget the F.
Well, don't forget the... All right. I'm going to leave it. You can tell I'm battling fatigue at this point.
Okay.
All right. We'll
Good
see you
night,
guys later.